One of the most captivating avian companions is the African gray parrot, especially thanks to its ability to mimic sounds and talk.
Would you like to introduce yourself? Are you famous?
With many owners of the medium-sized bird reporting that their speaking is often in context and they seem to be quite aware of the emotions of the humans around them. These birds are not simply repeating machines, it turns out.
Petra, where's your laser?
They are highly intelligent beings, earning them the nickname of being the Einsteins of the bird world. Bird enthusiasts revere the talking African gray parrot for its reputation as being one of the finest mimickers or talkers of any animal species. The most obvious sign of their admiration is that there is no mistaking this bird for another. Everyone is familiar with the African gray parrot. This bird has been kept by humans for centuries, with records from biblical times indicating that they were housed as pets near the dawn of recorded history. Since those times, it has been their intelligence, direct attitude, and stunning beauty that have had them near the top of most pet owners' favorite pet lists. What most bird parents know about their African gray parrots is that while they may look like dusty gray pigeons at first, they have a bright red tail, stunning plumage palette, and intelligent orange eyes. They love to have fun, are easy to feed, and are gentle with those living around them. If you are curious to learn more about these fascinating creatures, let's talk about some important things to know for anyone interested in learning more about and possibly becoming an owner of an African gray parrot. Ready to meet the incredible African gray parrot? But first, if you could tap that like button, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe, it'd mean the world to me. Oh, and the description box? Trust me, you don't want to miss out on those goodies. Let's spread our wings and dive into the world of the African gray. The natural habitat of the African gray parrot. There are several types of African gray parrots. The smaller is the tag, or Timney African gray, which has a very dark gray body, a tail that ranges in hues from maroon to black, and a horn-colored beak. Then the CAG, Congo African gray, which is actually more populous around a span of African regions, including Tanzania and the southeastern Ivory Coast and Kenya. The Timneys are found along the western coast of the Ivory Coast regions and in parts of southern Guinea. The African gray parrots are commonly found residing in near forest woodlands and clearings, savannas, and coastal mangroves all around Central and West African regions. The diet of and caring for an African gray parrot. African grays aren't just considered the intellectuals of the avian community because of their ability to mimic human speech so impressively well, but also because they can amass a sizable human vocabulary and have often shown an aptitude for contextualizing uses of various phrases and words that they've learned. In order to keep their intelligence sharp, they need toys and games where they are inclined to forage. One great foraging example is Nutriberries by the Lefebvre Company, which blends a combination of seeds, grains, and various other nutrients, all shaped like berries. Not only does this drive a very healthy diet for the African grays, but it also forces them to hold and nibble, as well as play with the Nutriberries. In doing so, they simulate the way that African gray parrots forage for food in their natural habitats in the wild. African grays are emotional birds, and their stress level can be highly affected by their environment. If there is commotion around them, the bird tends to panic, which adversely affects its health. By placing the cage the bird lives in away from the center of activity, such as a room corner, owners can put the African gray into a more assuredly calm state. As with most creatures, African gray parrots need particular nutrients in their diets on a regular basis to stay in optimal form. One of the main nutrients they can develop a deficiency in is vitamin A. In order to keep their vitamin A levels up, African greys must consume high beta-carotene vegetables, including fresh kale and cooked sweet potato. Another common deficiency African gray parrots are susceptible to is that of vitamin D. A balanced, pelleted diet can go a long way in delivering all of the necessary vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that they need to stay healthy. If an African gray parrot consumes pelleted diets like Nutriberries, they are likely not in need of any supplements added to their food. Behavior and personality of an African gray parrot. While many people love the idea of acquiring an African gray parrot, most experienced owners argue that these birds should only be kept by experienced bird experts due to their sensitive, complex, and sometimes demanding nature. While they're generally brilliant and charming, their wit combined with emotional sensitivity can lead to certain behavioral issues. These birds are extremely habitual, so any disruption in regular routines can throw them off, making the sensitive bird unhappy. When discomforted, the parrot's sensitive side kicks in, spurring bad habits including chewing on or plucking at their feathers. Tags have been known to do better in busier environments, adjusting more aptly to surrounding activity, while CAGs or CAGs prefer a less chaotic environment. The African gray parrot is a social animal, which means they require hands-on interaction. But they are by no means birds who like to be cuddled. While some don't mind some level of snuggling, the extent that most tolerate in terms of physical contact tends to be some minor petting or head scratching. Some African gray parrots also can become attached to a particular person in the household, but it isn't always just because one individual socializes with them more than others. Sound and speech of an African gray parrot. One of the biggest draws people feel towards African gray parrots is their ability for speech.
Alexa, all light on. Okay.
Its intelligence level allows it to learn and mimic words after hearing them just a couple of times. The bird gains the ability to talk at just about a year old, but the mimicking generally starts even before that. The most fascinating thing about African greys is that, according to research, repeating words is not its only ability in terms of language. It actually begins to understand what it's saying and can use words and phrases in the correct context a lot of the time.
Petra, where are you? Peekaboo. Where are you? Peekaboo.
One of the biggest highlights in the popularity of the species is the example of Dr. Irene Pepperberg and her CAG, Alex. The two worked together for nearly 3 decades until Alex's tragic passing due to an artery-hardening condition, arteriosclerosis. In those 3 decades, Alex was trained to recognize shapes, objects, and colors. He could also count objects and understand which concepts were in the same category, as well as which were not. Alex was even on his way to understanding far more sophisticated concepts to test his thought process, including the ability to read. He was surpassed by Griffin and Arthur, both of whom continued working with Dr. Pepperberg after Alex's untimely passing. But thinking that because African greys are smart shouldn't lead one to assume they aren't also noisy. They may not be as persistent or loud as their South American counterparts, but they will still learn their ambient noises and repeat them frequently, often to the point of driving their guardians crazy. Just imagine hearing the sound of a microwave beeping at all hours of the day or a cell phone ring that won't go away. Acquiring an African gray parrot. There are 2 particular subspecies of African greys: the Congo African gray, CAG or CAG, aka the red-tailed gray, Psittacus erathicus erathicus. Timneh African gray, TAG or tag, Psittacus erathicus timneh. The Congo grays were formerly called Cameroons, based on the country they were thought to have been descended from. But with some mindful research, it actually came out that these parrots were smuggled into Cameroon and had the country forged on their export papers. Regardless of where the birds originate from, the CAG, or CAG, while larger, is still the same subspecies as the tag. They're also more popular, mostly thanks to their exotic appearance with a black beak and an exotic tail. The tag has a darker gray, borderline black body coloration, with the tail ranging from maroon to black and a horn-colored beak. Either the tag or CAG makes for great bird companions for their owners. To acquire them, one should look into bird breeders or pet stores that specialize in birds. Occasionally, African gray parrots are available for adoption from a variety of rescue organizations.